Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions. Today we discuss something old made new. Back in 1957, Omega launched 3 utilitarian watches: the original Seamaster Diver, the Speedmaster, and the Railmaster. The Railmaster, the CK2914, was perhaps the least famous of that illustrious trio, but that does not mean it lacks a following. Periodically reissued in various iterations since 2003, for 2025, the Railmaster is back, and as you can see, it is agreeably sized and shaped. So in stainless steel, the all-new 2025 Railmaster, this is the Railmaster Center Seconds, it is 38 millimeters in diameter, 12.6 millimeters thick, 44.8 millimeters from lug to lug in steel with a 19 millimeter spacing between the lugs. I mentioned center seconds. Yes, there is a brown gradient dial variant that has small seconds. This one right here, though, is probably going to be the volume model, and it would be my choice from among the two. Throw it on the wrist, and I have to say that this is the most versatile size Omega has applied to a mainstream watch in quite a while. It's easy to wear. I could envision this as sort of a unisex option for someone who wants a smaller Omega sports watch, and again, agreeably thin might be the most impressive dimension of them all. 12.6 millimeters thick, this is comparable to a lot of Rolex sports models, something I cannot often say of Omegas. Now you can see from over the top, the lugs are still well inboard at the edge of my wrist. And then down the barrel, you can see how a 13.5 centimeter circumference wrist could wear this watch, and mine is 16 once again. The bracelet's a lovely look. You can see it's got a bit of a vintage short link kind of aesthetic to it. Polished centers, only a semi-conforming end link designed to leave a little bit of a step between bracelet and case for a vintage look, just a vintage vibe. This is not a retro re-edition like the 2017 anniversary piece. You can see we have many individual removable links, so if you can't find the right fit with that many sizing options, I don't know what to say. You might need Velcro. You could see that the bracelet's nicely made, and I can confirm that in the hand it's very supple. It's got gaps between the links to avoid pinching skin and pulling hair, but also to vent the wrist well, but it still feels solid. Taking a quick look at the clasp mechanism, you can see here we've got ceramic spring-loaded pin snaps inside the clasp to ensure that over time the tolerances remain snappy and crisp. Twin trigger release means that it's a secure system, so you have to press both triggers for this to pop open, but this is not a dive watch, so we don't have any kind of fold-out extension. Still quite secure, and the case, a familiar one. Lyre-style lugs, so we have that inner bevel to each lug and then the outer bevel. And so this is something we've seen on Omega watches since the early 1960s, Speedmasters and Seamasters both. And of course, the Railmaster is only a hop, skip, and a jump separated from the Aquaterras in terms of how it's constructed. So you can see we have a very similar aesthetic externally. We have a combination of polishing and media blast on the crown. It is a screw-down crown, and like the Aquaterra, it is 150 meters water resistant. Taking a look at the dial, it's quite simple. We've got a gray gradient fade with a vintage-style quarter Arabic numeral look with the wedge-style indices, and of course it's all printed, which is a vintage look, in contrast to applique indices. Railmaster, and by the way, how refreshing is this? A minimum of text on the dial of a modern Swiss watch. No need to tell me how water resistant it is, or that it's coaxial, or that it's a master chronometer. Remarkable paucity of text and graphics. Omega, you win. Now you can see we also have a vintage-inspired broad arrow style minute hand. This is a caliber 8806, so we have stop seconds. Screw down crown, of course, turn it all over. The movement is anti-magnetic to over 1.5 Tesla, or 15,000 plus Gauss, which is nice. Effectively an amagnetic watch. Automatic winding, single barrel, 55-hour power reserve, meets the COSC standards, but goes beyond this 34 joule movement. Fully cased up, tested in 6 positions, goes through the Master Chronometer certification. So it is a test of chronometry, winding efficiency, power reserve, shock resistance, anti-magnetism, and water resistance. It is a robust test of the fully assembled watch, not just a COSC 2-week test of a bare movement. Also impressive, the coaxial escapement tangential rather than sliding friction, giving it a argument for being the most advanced escapement you can buy for under $50,000, and I still believe that. George Daniels created the system in 1974. Omega industrialized it in 1999, and it's been building from the base plate up purpose-built coaxial movements since 2007. So we've got a beat rate of 25,200 vibrations per hour, which I understand has less to do with the coaxial escapement and more to do with the anti-magnetic silicon hairspring. The coax is cool because it improves power reserve, reduces maintenance requirements, and improves chronometry. And then we've got a full balance bridge and a free-sprung balance for greater shock tolerance, along with arabesque Côte de Genève across the bridges, blackened and polished screws with engine turning on the base plate, and a machined but attractive bevel. It's a good-looking movement, and again, a 55-hour power reserve, master chronometer, and coaxial. If you love this watch, reach out. Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.